today we are going to talk about what happened to Jaune, which I'm sure is the question on everybody's minds that I'm sure will be answered by next week anyway, but you know, we gotta do our thing, we have to theorize, we have to figure out what is going on. And so there are a couple theories in terms of what exactly happened to Jaune that I want to go through, and I want to talk about how I feel about all of them, because they all lead to kind of the same place, but they're also a little bit different, and so I feel like it's important to go through and talk about them. So the first one is that he arrived before Team RWBY, even though he fell last. Somehow.
Which seems paradoxical.
Which seems weird, and I feel like that's like the least interesting answer out of the three things that I have thought of today. And so basically some people just think that he somehow got here before Team RWBY did, and he's been here for a long time and he just got old.
Alternatively,
like, Jaune
he just
is actually old.
Yeah, he just fell for, he didn't even land in the Ever After burst, he just fell for a really long time.
He opened up his shield or whatever and floated down slowly, and it took a long time.
That hair is so windswept because he's been falling for that long.
Yeah, and so
do you think that just happens
that's the first one,
naturally?
is that people think that, like, there's some sort of time travel, and Jaune is actually now, like, 40 years old. Like, he biologically aged into a 30-year-old because he has just been here for that long. But I don't think that they're going to do exactly that, because I feel like if they do that, doesn't that, like, is Jaune gonna go back to Remnant and be 40? Like, you know what I mean? They either have to kill him in this volume,
need to twinkify
or leave
this
him
guy,
here,
you
right?
know?
They'll either leave him here, or he'll come back to Remnant being 40. Like, you know what I mean? If he actually physically aged because he's been here for so long, that presents some complications in terms of Jaune going back to normal. As opposed to, and this is the second idea, he went to RWBY and decided to change. And what Jaune wanted was, don't you wish that you could be older and wiser? Because it's something
to be
that...
a huntsman?
Yeah, well, not even to be a huntsman,
but
to good huntsman,
yes.
a more experienced huntsman, right? Because that's something that they really talk about and hammer home in Volume 8. Ren is like, we're just kids, we're just students, we can't do this, we are not cut out for this.
We're twinks,
right?
We're twinks, Jaune, and the world's too hard for twinks
and so
like us.
I feel like that they could make a callback to Volume 8, and then next episode we'll see the flashback to Jaune talking to Jaune, and Jaune being like, don't you wish that you could have been better? Like, don't you wish that you could do better, and you could know more, and you could have, like, more experience and be wiser, like,
you know
and
why
make
Pyrrha
the right
didn't ask
choices?
you out sooner?
Oh
because you were too much of a twink.
So basically, he went to RWBY, and he did decide to change. Now, here's the thing. People are asking, how does he know Team RWBY? Because the cat says in this episode, when people are swallowed up by the Ever After, they lose their memories. The question becomes, though, does that affect the people, like the Remnant citizen, like the Remnant people? But then also, if you take the deal with RWBY or the blacksmith lady, does the Ever After actually swallow you, or do they change you with their own magic? And I feel like that's a very important distinction that a lot of people are not picking up on, right? Because I understand the reincarnation thing, but there's not necessarily a one-to-one indication that reincarnation would necessarily equal taking the choice that RWBY presented. Like, if Blake chose to be a cat, there's not necessarily an indication that, like, she would get sucked into the Ever After based on that. Maybe he just has the power to make someone, like, with a potion, right? Kind of an Ursula type situation.
Or perhaps
like
he
with
could
the
make
blacksmith.
someone more vulnerable to being sucked in.
Well, maybe, but I'm saying, like, to solve this problem of why Jaune still has his memories, you could say that it's possible that, like, if the blacksmith lady reforges you, you're kind of just different on the outside, but you didn't actually reincarnate. So that's sort of the second theory, is that he went to RWBY, he smoked with him, and because no one was there to rescue him, like, the cat was not there to rescue rescue Jaune, so he took the deal. However, it is not reincarnation. It is more so that if you take the deal with Herb or take the deal like from the Metal Lady, they will reforge you, but it's sort of just an illusion. Like, you're not actually a cat, you just think you're a cat vibes, instead of being reincarnated. The reincarnation is controlled by the Ever After itself, versus choosing to change could be controlled by like other characters and their powers. And I think that that would be an interesting kind of parallel to like Neo, for example, who has illusions and illusionary magic. If it's like, if you took the deal with Herb, you're not actually changed, you just are pretending that you are. And that's a nice
you're
little,
a pretender
right?
to the beard,
You're
John.
pretending that you're old, right? It's like psychological.
That
in a way.
ponytail is probably a clip-on.
Right? The other
you
thing,
fraud.
though, with that theory is that some people think that Jaune doesn't actually remember Team RWBY, but he just remembers, like, Team RWBY as a fact versus Team RWBY. Like, I don't know, because I don't know a lot about
Curious
this.
Cat
right?
kind of mentioned that in regards to the prince, that like some things stick in your heart.
Exactly, in your heart, right?
So Juniper, because he does remember his time with Team Juniper, because he names
or he just knows that
Jackalope.
Juniper means something to him, but
him.
doesn't remember his team. We need to investigate how much Jaune actually remembers in order to kind of suss that out. But yeah, so the first theory is that he just landed here and he got older, right? The second theory is that Herb changed him, and then like the memory loss thing, there's basically two different paths. That Herb's change is just an illusion, or it's not an illusion and Jaune does actually forget. We're just gonna find out the next episode. He knows Team RWBY as a fact, but not his personal memories of Team RWBY. Like, if I don't know, like, I don't know a lot about amnesia, but I'm assuming that, like, there are cases of people with amnesia where they still know, like, that the sky is blue, or what Canada is.
Yeah.
Like, they still know
It's like
the facts
personal
of life.
details
Like, they
that
still know
forget about.
how to do
Yeah.
math, and they still know about gravity. Like, they know about, like, the facts of what things are, but they lose like their personal memories. And so that could be sort of a thing that Team RWBY, as much as it's like a personal like memory for Jaune, it could also just be stored in the part of his brain that recognizes facts, right? The Team RWBY's existence is a fact. Beacon is a fact, but he may not remember his actual time being at Beacon. So with the Herb thing, again, there's those two branching options. Either Jaune forgot and got sucked into the Ever After and was spat back out again, or
Which
we're
feels like a
going
very
to find
Jaune
out,
thing to happen
we're
to the
going
poor
to find
guy.
out that what Herb does is sort of just like a mask. Like, he kind of makes you think that you got what you wanted, but you're only living in kind of like a little delusional world or something like that, right? That everybody else can
coat
see.
of delusional paint that you can
Exactly.
easily
So
strip
the
off.
outside of Jaune looks old, but like
Under that hard shell of rugged
but
dill
Twink
country,
Jaune is
the
in
soft,
there, right?
the soft, insecure nougat of Twink Jaune
Yeah.
classic remains.
So basically, he has not been here longer than Team RWBY. He just wished to be older and wiser, and therefore they made him old. So he's not like, he hasn't actually spent more time here. They just poofed him to be old. Just like how they mentioned that the prince used to be a king and then aged down. Like, I feel like that they did that very intentionally. They included that information that the prince seemed to age backwards in the episode, like when he was reborn as the prince. I think that they did that on purpose because it has something to do with like the Jaune aging stuff. But yeah, whether or not like Jaune was eaten by the Ever After, or he just decided to change and he just like looks like this because that's what the Herb potion does. If you like actually listen to him, it's sort of just like one of Neo's illusions. She could make herself look old too and delude herself into thinking that she was old,
Yes.
right? That's the other one. There's a third option though, okay? And this is the crack, but I actually think that this is very interesting to me. So people noticed that in the OP, Jaune has a bunch of clocks, and that's why they think that like he's been here for a long time and there's time travel and there's bullshit. But something interesting about the clock is that the 11th hour is missing, I'm pretty sure. And like the 11th hour is supposed to be the very much final time that you are able to do a thing.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the 11th hour.
Yeah,
it's
the
the
11th
only
hour
chance,
is-
it's your last chance, right? And so instead of wishing to be older and wiser, what if Jaune always wished to be on time? Like, the reason why he has lost the people in his life so far has been because he has always been late. Like, you know what I mean? He couldn't save Kira. He was too late. He turned around too late, didn't notice that Cinder was there, and then Cinder killed Amber, right? With Penny, it's kind of a bit of a stretch, I guess. But like you could say with Penny, it was too late. There wasn't enough time for him to use his semblance to heal her.
There wasn't also enough time to get everyone else out of Atlas before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there wasn't enough time. So what if Jaune's wish wasn't to be older and wiser, but it was to always be on time when someone was in danger? And therefore, this caused a kind of a time paradox, fuckity-wuckity time travel that sent him back in time to protect Alex when Alex was in danger, because he wished that he would always be on time.
When there was someone he needed that needed help.
This is sort of a mixture of the first theory and the second theory. It's that Jaune has aged because Jaune has technically been here in the Ever After, but he made the wish to change. Like in RWBY's real time, like in RWBY's timeline, he made the wish to change, but that wish sent him backward into
so we're
Alex's
in like a divergent timeline.
Sort of, yeah. Okay. Like he was sent backward to protect Alex, and then from that point on, he aged through the years until now, waiting for Team RWBY. That's why it's felt so long.
But Team RWBY never noticed that time irregularity because they never met
Alex or Jaune, right? Until this point, basically.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have been affected by it. That makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah, and so that's, like, again, that's a mix of the first one and the second one of he just got old, and he made the choice to change. And that is why he comes right in time when the Jabberwocker is there. And that's why he knows he's only one. Jaune is literally teleported every single time there is a Jabberwocker attack to the point in, like, any point in the Ever After timeline where there's the attack of the Jabberwocker, he pops up.
Maybe.
You know, there's something, but he pops up right when the Jabberwocky...
The one thing that kind of throws me off, though, is that, like, wouldn't he show up when it attacked Neo, and wouldn't he show up when it attacked Yang?
So here's the thing. Here's what I'm gonna say about
Or were they just not in danger?
They are not in danger because they are not Wonderland residences.
And Neo's not in danger either.
So they're residences. They are not Wonderland residents, and therefore
native citizens.
They could not be eaten. Like, and lose their purpose. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
and, like, Yang also was not in trouble. She chased that thing off with a rock.
If anything, he would have to show up and be like, ho, ho, it's just an animal, all right?
Like he would have to save the Jabberwocky. Yeah. So, like, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
But, like,
and my
that's
second
basically
thing,
why. That's why I think so. It's because, like, they weren't actually in any danger. Like, the Ever After did not recognize Neo in, like, the Jabberwocky's confrontation as dangerous. Well, I guess let's just review, right? We have first, Jaune just got old. That's one. Second, we have Jaune changed, but, like, it's an illusion. The Ever After didn't eat him. Yes. Then we have the Ever After ate him, and then we have the Ever After ate him plus time fuckity-wuckity where he went backwards. So out of those four, you like... Which
so, like, either, like, 2 or 3 works both for this because, like, he has a kind of... He has a familiarity with his past lives, but a distance to it.
Yeah.
Like, he likes the piercing. He names his jackalope Juniper, but when he sees Team RWBY, he's not like, oh my god, it's been decades.
Yeah.
Like, I've been trapped here. You're the only other person I've seen for years.
How he says... Team RWBY, you finally arrived. It's very formal.
Yeah, and it's like
kind of like he doesn't know them.
Realize that these are his friends that he's known for years and that he's fought against and, like, traveled with and he's very close with. That people ship him with. You know, there's that distance, which leads me to believe that it's what kind of like the Curious Cat said, like with the prince, it's like his heart kind of remembers, but he doesn't quite know why he... It's like how it's like, oh, wow, you like swimming. You were a fish in your past life.
Yeah.
Same sort of this.
He doesn't quite know why. The other thing is
whereas if this, like, I feel like if he really was ancient, he'd be either he's so, like, broken down from his life in the Ever After that he just can't bring himself to be joyful. But still, I feel like it would be like in that scene in Jumanji when like Robin Williams' character gets out of the port. Everyone's seen Jumanji.
Yeah.
He gets out of the character and he's like, oh my God, I'm at home again. Mom, where's Mom?
Yeah, and I think too, like with that, the interesting thing is that when Team RWBY is attacked, he doesn't say anything to them upon seeing them. Like, he's not like, oh my God, RWBY. Like, he's focused on the Jabberwocker. It's almost like he doesn't recognize them at first. He just thinks that they're people. Like, you know what I mean? And so he's not like, oh my God, you guys. Like, he says run. Like, there's only supposed to be what? Like, his dialogue is very sparse in the sense that, like, he doesn't have this moment of realization in terms of, oh my God, it's Team RWBY. Like, he only has that after he leads them up the flower, which I think is sort of very telling because, like, I feel like that the first thing that you would say if you saw your friends would be like, RWBY?
Oh
like,
my God!
Like, question mark? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it you
look
guys?
Just how I remember you. Like, something like that.
Yeah, and like he says it so formally that it's sort of strange.
Which leads me to believe that he's been, like, he's lost that connection in a way that time wouldn't allow.
And so I do like the 11th hour idea. But I also like the older and wiser thing, too. Like, it's kind of difficult because I like the 11th hour thing in the sense that, like, oh, you wish that you're always there when someone's in trouble. And it's like a careful what you wish for thing. Whereas wishing to be older and wiser doesn't necessarily have that same effect because you literally wished for that, right?
Wouldn't it be wild if in the next opening it's Dilf Jaune and not classic
I don't know. That would be interesting. That would be weird. But yeah, I think that, like, those are basically all the theories that I've seen. I don't think that there's really anything else. But yeah, I do like the idea that Jaune was the Rusted Knight in Alex's story too. But I feel like that it's probably more likely that Jaune just replaced the Rusted Knight that already existed. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, that Rusted Knight got older, was, like, actually disposed of in some way, so Jaune could take the role instead. And so I think that, like, I like the idea that he went to RWBY and just wanted to be wiser and smarter, and so therefore he aged. And then that way they can change him back. Because the problem is, if Jaune aged biologically, I don't see how they would change him back, because if he was sucked in by the Ever After, he can always get, like, reverted again. But the problem is, like, if he aged naturally, he can't, and then if he gets sucked in by the Ever After again, he will lose his memories a second time, right? And so there's some weird stuff with that. Like, we have to also think about how we're going to fix Jaune. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And, like, fixing Jaune seems a lot harder if he's biologically old versus that he wished to be old, because the prince can go backwards and become young because he was repurposed. But, like, if they want to make Jaune young again, I think if they want to make Jaune young again, either way, he's gonna have to do it. Like, he's gonna have to lose his memories.
Put some, like, I don't know, anti-wrinkle cream on and shave.
Do you think Jaune is going to die here?
Do you remember that, like, really old theory? The Juniper Death, where all the Juniper characters were gonna die? Are they really going to kill Jaune?
If
Jaune died...
Fixing Jaune is a little complicated.
Because, like, I like Jaune. Back in the day, I wasn't very fond of him. I really like Jaune now. Also, there is so many... Think of all, like, the guys that were used to be back when we were a lot more negative towards Jaune. All of, like, the guys that were in our comment section being like, I see myself in him. Like, they were so,
what
like...
would they do? Is that
those guys are gonna need to, like, we need to, like call up a checkup on. They're gonna have to be on a watch. Because they're gonna be distraught that their boy is dead.
If he actually aged to be old, I feel like that they can't change him back in the same way where as he just wished to be old and they could revert him somehow, or like start the story again and prevent Jaune, because we have a story cycle theory that they'll go back, so maybe they could, like, if they know Jaune's here, they could actually look for him faster and stop him from making the choice, and then they could fix him that way. Whereas if he aged, that presents sort of a problem for making sure that he can go back.
I do like the idea that he's, like, he goes back to his, like, 19, 20-year-old body, but he's still, like, Mentally 40.
But see,
so
like,
he just
I don't
starts
know,
doing
man.
40-year-old stuff. Like he starts making noises when he gets up, like instinctually.
Like,
he
isn't
starts
that gonna
posting,
fuck up Jaune for the rest of the
he
show?
starts like
That's
posting
what I'm worried about. Like, isn't this
minion
gonna
memes
fuck
on
up
Facebook.
Jaune for the rest of the show?
Starts using Facebook.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be pretty. I mean, it would have long-term consequences, but I mean, he's been traumatized before
I
and
guess,
he got
but
better.
like this
you
is
know?
kind of weirder and a little worse, and so hopefully we'll find out what's going on. But yeah, I think that if the story cycle theory is true, knowing that Jaune fell, they could actually go and prevent him from making the deal with Herb, and that's how they would revert him to being young again and make sure that Jaune does not have like, you know, didn't lose his memories. But you also have to wonder, like, consequences for your actions if you reset Jaune and save him. Does that sort of negate the consequence of Jaune choosing to change? So, like, there's sort of a weight of that. If they fix Jaune,
change their friend, they can save their friend. Maybe
Yeah.
he dies heroically. That case, it's like, okay, well then how will? Because if Pyrrha dies and Jaune died, I mean, they took
Nora
a bit
and
of a.
Ren are looking to get
Nora
right
and
now.
Ren are in a precarious situation.
I mean, I guess, like, it's Emerald, Oscar, Ren, and Nora, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, I guess that's it from us, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.